Hi there. In this one, we're going to take these squigs. We're starting off with these zenithal highlighted, so I've done a black undercoat and then sprayed from above with white. And I've got 5 of these squigs, and we're going to utilize several different colors for kind of the base coat and basically have a rainbow of squigs. So we're going to have some Skittles squigs, some squiggles, I guess you can call them. So we'll clear out the table here and just start with kind of the standard run-of-the-mill um, color that squigs typically are. So we're starting with this slaughter red, speed paint, and what we're going to be doing with all of these squigs, we're giving them all a solid speed paint base coat, with the speed paints being not as opaque, a little more translucent, and then utilizing the zenithal highlight. We do get some built-in highlights and shadows with this paint scheme, or this the way we're painting these. We are going to come in with some opaque paints and add some highlights as well, to give more highlight. All right, so after we get this base coat all on there, you can use your, so here I'm going to use Acryl's Bold Pyral Red as my highlight color. So we're going to highlight this guy up using this size 5 dry brush from Artify, and the link for that will be down in the description if you're interested in getting a set of these from Amazon. So we're just bringing up the highlight of that base red so that it gives it a little bit more texture and variety. So from there, from the red guy, we're going to switch over to orange. So I'm going to use Army Painter's Fire Giant Orange. And just like the red squig, this is just going to get slopped all over this zenithal highlight so that we have kind of that shadow and highlight built in. Again, we'll add some highlights where you can use your opaque paint of choice to give these guys their highlight. Alright, so dry brushing this Acryl orange over the top of that Army Painter Fire Giant Orange. Just brings out some of those highlights. Since these squig guys do have some ridges and bumps and things, it does help to highlight those areas. Give these guys a nice overall highlight. And I guess, one could argue squigs may be more of this orange color, so that's kind of why I went with this orange color as the second sample squig, in case you want your squigs to be a little bit more on the orange side. Here's how I painted the orange ones. Next up in the rainbow is yellow, so we want Army Painter Zealot Yellow. And again, just slapping this on all over. With the Zealot Yellow, it is kind of a yellow-orange paint, which is fine. And in those darker, deeper recess, I did try to leave a little bit more of this in, so it did shadow a little bit more, even though those shadows did end up being a little more on the orange side. But when we come in with the highlight color, with the dry brush on the highlight color, it'll make it more yellow. So the yellow I'm going to use here is Golden Yellow from Pro Acryl. And again, doing the same process as I did with the red one and the orange one. We're just dry brushing this yellow on, hitting those highlights as best we can. With some of these brighter colors, it might take more of the dry brushing. You might have to go over some of these parts or steps a little bit more, or instead of taking off all of the paint, or like traditional dry brush where you're taking off more of the paint, maybe you leave a little bit more of the paint on the dry brush, so then you're leaving more of that yellow paint. Next up is purple, so I went with Army Painter Purple Swarm. As we've done already, we're just making sure we get all of the squig body painted with these colors. I am trying to make sure I don't slop on his teeth or his toenails too much with these speed paints. Just kind of being careful around his mouth and toes and any spikes they might have. All right, and then I went with the Faded Plum from Pro Acryl for the highlight. This one dry brushed really quick and easy. So something like this purple goes on, this highlight color goes on really quick, so you have to watch it and be careful with some of these darker colors because they cover up a lot easier than that yellow did. All right, so with the fifth squig, typically your standard Skittles, or the rainbow if you will, is more of this brighter green color. So if you want to go brighter green, orc skin with the bright yellow green would be a good option. So here's what that would look like. We'll put together a short on how I did this one a little bit later, but the reason I didn't go with this bright yellow is the grots themselves were kind of a greenish color. So with the Boing grots, I didn't want that green on green contrast. So I'm going to end up going with Citadel's contrast Pterodon turquoise to still have a little bit of a green color, but go a little bit more on the blue hue. In the speed paint line, this Raging Sea's kind of close. So if you want to stick with Army Painter. So I'm going to go with this Citadel Pterodon turquoise. And as we've done before, we're just going to paint it all over his body. Trying to be careful not to fully get it on his teeth or his gums. Or in this guy's case, he's got a horn sticking out of the top of his forehead. Trying to keep it off there. It's got some spikes on his back. So trying to hit around those areas. And then his little toenails too. Alright, so for this one's highlight color, I used Bright Jade from Procryl. And this is a nice bright color. This one dry brushes on really quick and easy, just like the Faded Plum did. I am getting the dry brush onto teeth and the bones, but I'm going to go back here shortly and we're going to put a base coat back on those parts. So this lighter dry brush will paint over good. Alright, so using the red guy as a sample, just kind of finish him off, and we're going to use him as a sample for how all these guys are kind of finished off. So for what I was talking about before, where we've got teeth and bones and spikes and things that did get some dry brush on them, I'm using Procryl's Bright Ivory, and I'm painting over the teeth and toenails, and if any of them have this like mushroom on their basing texture or the basing material that they were jumping off of, any of these mushrooms that got color on them as well, I did go over this. This bright ivory is a little thin, so and there is a few spots, so I did have to go over a couple times, a couple coats. This contrast paint, this Magos Purple, I really like as a gum color. It's kind of a purplish red color. So I'm using this with a smaller brush, kind of hitting the gums. If you want to use a red wash after this to kind of make it a little bit redder, you can do that. But I think this Magos Purple does a pretty good job. And then Army Painter Pallid Bone. It's going to be the next color, and I'm going to paint this over the bases or stalks of any mushrooms that might be present, and then his teeth. Trying to be careful not to get it on his gums that I just painted that Magos Purple. But just giving it kind of a yellowish teeth color. And then I'm going to go back to Zealot Yellow and pick out his eyes. And then Grim Black is going to be his toenails. There was a couple of them that ended up having some spikes that got some of this on there as well. And then I'm going with Procryl Ivory. And I'm just doing some edge highlighting, picking out the raised surfaces on teeth here to kind of bring up a little bit of a highlight. And then with this Citadel's Apothecary White, I was either painting the top of mushrooms that were going to be kind of a grayish color. I think the bigger mushroom on here, I painted the stalk of the lower part of kind of this gray color. This purple swarm I brought in for the top of the mushroom bit that I put on his base. And then I've got some basing steps here. So this Procryl Golden Brown, I was painting up on the bits that are already on the base that he's standing on. Just kind of get close to those materials. This ivory here, I'm going in and picking out the little bumps that are on the top of the little mushroom accessory. And then Procryl's Golden Earth Fine Basing Texture is pretty close to the same color as that golden brown that I went in with. So this was painted on elsewhere. And then I'm using a brown wash to dirty up that Golden Earth. course, after the texture dries. You don't want to do this before or while the texture is still wet. But make it a little more dirt looking. And then I've got this caramel brown by Acryl, which makes a great dusting, kind of giving some highlight back to that basing texture and hitting his lower legs and toes. And then we're going to add some static grass. This is Army Painter static grass. I've put some of this PVA glue or Elmer's glue, white glue, into this little cup. Use this old paintbrush and just dab it on and kind of randomly place it in spots, and then dunk the base in the static grass and tap off anything that doesn't stick. And then we're going to grab a tuft, and with all these just kind of stick these in random places as well. And then I'm going to paint the base rim this Acryl Satin Black to finish up these models. And then we'll show you the results here with all of them painted up, what they look like, how they came out. I appreciate you for joining me on this one. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thanks.